Hey guys, it's Teresa from Tree60 Handmade Bags and welcome to my sewing studio. Today we are making this gorgeous sling bag from Creations. It's called the Piero Sling Pack and it's part of the Bag of the Month Club that you sign up for 3 months and you pay about $25 Canadian and you get a mystery pattern every month. So this series was August, September, and October. This is the September 1st mystery pattern. And look at how gorgeous this Piero sling pack is. Look at the gorgeous curved lines at the side and the back strap. So let's go over this bag. I'm really excited about this because it is a beautiful bag that we're going to be making together today. So what I have used on the exterior is the dark brown Mora faux leather from EMMALINE Bags. This beautiful metallic-y brown and antique brass and purples and grays embossed fabric I got from Temu. So on the front of the bag, I have added a tassel detail using the Mora faux leather in dark brown to contrast with the embossed fabric. And it has this also a nice little tab detail here. It has a slip pocket on the front with a flap that can hold things in securely. So I have a Samsung S25 Ultra phone. This is big enough to put in my phone, but you just have to make sure that you work the flap over top of it, and even though there isn't a magnetic closure, it does hold things in there securely. So if you have a smaller phone, it might be a little easier to get in, but there's still lots of room in there for your phone. So isn't that gorgeous? This is just absolutely gorgeous. It has a double zipper pull top. Now, typically when a pattern calls for double zipper pulls, I only ever put the one on because I find that for myself and other people to always leave the one down here and just wind up using the one. But this time I thought I would put the double pull on because it is a longer zipper gusset. And just to help make it easier to get into when you're wearing it. On the back, you have your two D-ring connectors and then this unique strap. So this strap is padded and it's wide. Now, I chose to do the strap in the Mora faux leather with the by Annie's soft and stable sew-in foam in between. In the pattern, you can make it out of, if you're using quilt cotton or canvas, you can sew the wrong side, the right sides together and birth the strap. But I just felt it was going to be easier for me to construct this strap in two pieces, fold over the raw edges and sew them together. And I go over that with you in this tutorial. But it has this adjustable strap on the bottom. And then on the inside, I have used from Sam Fabric Creations this waterproof nylon, and I have used beige 1-inch wide grosgrain ribbon for my binding. So on this one side there isn't anything on this panel, but I made it with the feature of an inside slip pocket. So there's lots of room, lots of opportunity to have a slip pocket here and put another slip pocket on here. And then of course I have my Made in Canada label here as well. But this is a beautiful bag and it's a comfortable bag as well. It is, it's not very big. The measurement actually is 6.5 inches wide or 16.5 centimeters wide. It's 11 inches tall or 28 centimeters tall and 3 inches deep or 7.6 centimeters deep. So if I was to wear it on my back, I would put it over this shoulder, loosen up the strap. I'm a little taller and larger. And there you have it on your back, and that tassel, like this has an elevated look to it. It has a nice sophisticated look to it than just a simple sling bag. So you can wear it on your back or you can wear it on your front. And actually, it's quite comfortable on the front, even though I have a lot of extra stuff happening on my front end. It's not too bad. And I like the fact that this strap is soft, especially with the more faux leather. I like that it's soft and it's cushioned because I don't have it rubbing up against my neck like a webbing strap might do it. And of course I can lengthen this if I want, but I could wear it just like this. And then of course you have easy access to get into the bag. And if you want to put your phone in that slip pocket along the back panel, there you go. Very easy access. Gorgeous, gorgeous bag. It's a very, very well written pattern. It's an interesting pattern and bag to make. And I definitely will be making more of this. So this is the Piero Sling bag from Creations, and it's part of the Bag of the Month Club. Oh, and before I forget, thanks a lot for being here and sewing along with me. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. And if you haven't subscribed yet, on the bottom right of your screen, you'll see a little red subscribe button. Just click that and subscribe, and you'll get a notification whenever I go live or whenever I publish a new tutorial. So get all your stuff together, get your pattern, gather all of your materials, figure out what wonderful color combinations you're going to make, and get your pattern and meet me here and we will make this bag together. So right now the first step is you'll need your strap anchor. You'll have 2 exterior pieces for your strap anchor. So this is for your D-ring connectors. And all the hardware measurements are in the pattern and the seam allowance as well. And then you're going to need your flap tab, which is one of your exterior. Now the flap tab is what you use to pull up the little flap for the front slip pocket. But I'm going to be adding a little D-ring, a 1/2 inch D-ring to it to make it easier. And then I'm going to add, for a really nice effect, I'm going to see how long this tassel connector winds up being with the tassel. And I may have to just attach it from this point, but we're going to have a little bit of a feature. So right now we're going to be working on our strap anchors and our flap tab, and we'll get started with all of that. All right, so now starting with the strap anchor, what I have done is I have taken each of my pieces, marked the center line, and I put double-sided tape down each side. And I'm going to do all 4 of them because, as I said, I'm doing 2 bags. So these are pretty little to do, and I'll just do all 4 at the same time. All right, so I have folded all of my edges to the center. I'm going to top stitch an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance down each side. Okay, just cut all my threads. And these are the strap connectors that we'll be attaching our swivel clasp to. So I'm just going to get those out and just hook them on for now. Okay. And I'll just clip them right now with some clips just to hold them in place. The strap is if you're going to birth the strap the way they have it in the pattern, if you're going to use cotton, it's it takes a bit of time. So especially when you have foam in the center. Okay, so there's all of my D-ring connectors, and I'm using 3/4 of an inch D-rings and gunmetal. Now I'm just going to do exactly the same thing with the flap tab that I did with the strap connectors. Okay, so the same thing, I'll just feed my little 1/2 inch D-ring onto here and then just clip it for now until we need it for the next step. Okay, so there we have those as well, and I'll see you when I'm back. All right, so next we're going to be constructing our strap. So this is the strap piece, and it's piece D, E, and F constructed together. So you're going to need your 1-inch webbing, and I've already taken a lighter to each of the ends just to stop it from fraying. You're going to need your foam. So I have the sew-in foam. It's by Annie, and it's the soft and stable foam. In the pattern, there is a measurement of cutting off a certain amount of foam, and I've also cut my foam down compared to the pattern piece that you use for your foam, only because of the fact that I am not constructing my strap how it's written in the pattern. I'm not using the canvas and I'm not using cotton. So what I have done on one of my straps, because I'm using the dark brown Mora faux leather, I have taken a double-sided tape and put it down each side. And then on this other side, I have taken the double-sided tape down each side. And I've also put double-sided tape in the center to stick my foam on when I go to affix the foam. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to work the edges, take the double-sided tape off one edge, and I'm just going to fold that edge over. Okay, so I have folded over both of my raw edges. I still have to do it on this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the double-sided tape off the center, and we're going to put the foam on there. Now what I have done with my foam, so first I've cut off this edge, which is in the pattern. There's a certain amount that you cut off. And I've also, because I'm folding over my edges, I've cut the width down so it fits in between the folded edges, so that when the folded edges are sewn, you're not going to see any of the foam peeking out or anything like that. So I am going to, and then also on this end, we can't have a raw edge for, this is where the strap is going to come out of. So I'll be folding this raw edge over as well. So I have also cut, or I will be cutting off a bit of this end as well. So let's just see how all this fits on here in between. Make sure that there isn't any buckling underneath. I want to make sure it's smooth. Because the Mora can stretch a bit. Okay, so I have cut a certain amount off of here because I'm going to be putting double-sided tape when I get the other side attached. I'm going to be putting double-sided tape here, folding this edge over and sticking the webbing in here. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm just going to fold over this edge, these edges, and I'll run a strip just on the inside, kind of covering over where the raw edge meets the center. And that'll help stick the other side on there of the other folded edges. Okay, So there I've run it down both sides, kind of over top of that edge so that it hopefully stays down. And now I'm just going to take off one side of the double-sided tape. Line up that edge with this that already has the foam on it. So line up both these edges, and I'm going to clip them, making sure that they're together. And that's where the double-sided tape comes in handy. It helps you stick it on so that your edges are lined up together. Okay, so now we have this end, the raw end, where your 1-inch webbing has to be fit in. Now, if you had sewn it from the wrong side and then turned it to the right side, your webbing would have already been sewn in there and you would have had a folded edge. But what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to move my clips down a bit, pull it apart, and I'm just going to put a piece of double-sided tape on each edge, just along here. So I'm going to take the double-sided tape off the one edge and I'm going to fold it over. And I'll take it off the other end. And then fold it over so that those new folded edges will meet and line up. This one's got to come down a bit more. Okay, so I just have them folded like this. That's bulging. And I'm going to take my webbing and I'm going to insert it into here about an inch and a half, just to give it some strength inside. And then fold those two edges back. So we have, it's already sitting on the double-sided tape that I have on the inside. And then I'm just going to clip those corners to make sure that those corners stay aligned. So this is what we have. We have it all clipped. These ends aren't meeting, but that's okay. I'll trim them up. Your foam has been cut on the inside to a certain measurement. And now my webbing is like this. And now in the pattern, it has you stitching 1/8 of an inch seam allowance all the way around the outer edge and edges for top stitching. And then it has you stitching down the center. I'm going to be stitching 1/8 of an inch seam allowance all the way around the perimeter, and then I'm going to come in and 1/4 of an inch and do a second set of stitching and have that more as a decorative kind of look. But definitely 1/8 of an inch around that edge, because I want to make sure that those two folded edges are closed. And I might even do slightly less than 1/8 of an inch. And I'm just going to trim off that excess edge here. Okay, so there we have our strap constructed at this point with the double stitching. If you want, follow the pattern and do a center stitch. I just felt that I like the look of this better with the double stitching on either side. All right, we'll see you in a sec. All right, so next we're going to be constructing the slip pocket. So you need one of your exterior and one of your lining pieces. And we're going to be putting them right sides together. So that's my exterior, is the feature embossed fabric, and there's my lining. So we're putting them right sides together. And we're going to stitch them together across the straight edge at the seam allowance in the pattern, remembering to back stitch at the beginning and the end. And then we're going to fold it over. Just finger press the lining forward and line up your edges, making sure that your raw edges are together, and your folded edges, fold them over. So that seam that you just sewed, you're going to be folding over. And then clip down the sides and the bottom. And we're going to top stitch across the top, 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, and then just baste all around the raw edges. Okay, so there we have our slip pocket made, and we will continue on with the flap that goes over top. I'll be back. Okay, so now we're going to be working on the pocket flap, and you have one exterior and one lining. This is where, if you want to install your bag tag, this is the perfect spot to do it on that flap. And as well, you'll need your little flap tab that we already made. And I did baste across the top just to secure it in place. So what we're going to do is we're going to take, I've already marked where I want my bag tag, and I've already made the marks on here, and I've already secured it on the back with Gorilla Tape or duct tape. So I'm going to just make my little slits and be very careful, only because for me this fabric is thinner. And then I just open the prongs on my bag tag, pop them through those holes that I just made. And then stick the washer on top. And I make sure that everything's down, because sometimes the holes aren't exact, and I just push the prongs inward, just to make sure that there's no bulk. Okay, and then I just make sure that my bag tag is straight. And then I take the other piece of duct tape and I put it over top of the prongs and that washer to ensure that any rubbing, if there's any rubbing or friction, that this protects the metal. It covers the metal to protect it against the lining. Okay, so I have installed my bag tag onto the front flap. So of course all the centers have been marked. And what we're going to take is the little flap tab, and we're going to put it, line it up with this center mark, hard to see, and have it overhang the edge about 1/4 of an inch. And then we're just going to baste that on. And make sure it's straight and centered with that center marking. Okay, and it has my little D-ring attached as well, because that'll give me the opportunity of adding some kind of a decorative attachment on the front, and hopefully the tassel will work out. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to clip the lining with the exterior, and we're putting right sides together, and we're clipping along this edge first. So make sure that your edges are all lined up, and then we're going to sew this at the seam allowance in the pattern. And when I go over that little D-ring tab, I'm going to go over it twice just to make sure it's reinforced. So we're just going to stitch around that, back stitching at the beginning and the end. Make sure my D-ring is not in my way of the stitching. There we go. Okay, so there we have the front and the back, the lining stitched together. So pull them to the right side out, making sure that all your corners are, if you need to trim your seam allowance, do so now, trimming the corners. Pop your corners to the right side, or the exterior and the lining are going to be wrong sides together. Line up your seams, and then I clip, making sure those edges are flat. And you have this little bit of a curve to go around as well. And then clip around your raw edges here, because we're going to be basting around these raw edges and top stitching along this folded edge. Okay, so this is what we have so far. This is our flap, and there's the underside, the lining side. Okay, and I will be back as we construct our front panel. Alrighty, so we will need now one of your pocket linings and your top flap that you just made and the bottom part of the pocket. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be lining up, matching the centers here and here with the bottom piece and attaching the top piece onto this front pocket. So just clip around your bottom piece first, matching all your edges. And then when you put your top piece on, now mine's going to be a little bigger than what the lining is. So your edges, you don't want them to overlap on this side or this side. You want them to be butt up against the corners of the bottom piece. I'm just going to clip that in place and then I'll show you. We don't want them overlapping, we just want them butt up against. Okay. So we just want this corner and this corner just to meet, no overlapping. And my back is a little bigger than my lining. So I'm just going to just draw around that, and I'm going to just trim that down. Okay, so we'll just clip the top on, and what we're going to be doing right now is we're just going to be basting everything around. When I get to these two edges where they meet, I'm just going to reinforce them and do back stitching around them. Okay, so this is what we have right now. I also forgot to tell you to make sure that your lining piece is right side up when you put your flap and your pocket on there. So this is what we have. We have the front pocket all constructed, and this Mara faux leather makes a nice contrast to this metallic-y embossed fabric from Temu. All right, and I will be back in a second and we'll start assembling the exterior panel. All right, so now we're going to be constructing our back piece with our pocket. So you're going to need one exterior back body piece and your pocket that you just made. So you're going to be putting them right sides together, lining up the centers. And then you're going to take, because they're not going to meet, you've got a curve going this way and a curve going that way. So take your scissors and snip all along on the back piece, all along here, just an eighth of an inch snips into that back, just so that we can help ease it around that curve of the pocket. Now you have a flat edge on this side and a flat edge on that side. Line them up, line those edges up with the side of your pocket and clip them into place. So that flat edge lined up with this edge. And then we're going to just ease in your snipped back piece along this curve of the pocket. And I find it easiest just to kind of fold the pocket down with the back piece on top, and then just create that curve and then snip it in or clip it into place, making sure that your center stays lined up. And then that helps to ease that curve into the pocket. And use as many clips as you might need to make sure that it stays secure. But I think the trick is to line up that flat edge on either side. Okay, we have the pocket and the back exterior piece all clipped together. So what we're going to do is we're going to stitch around this curve at the seam allowance in the pattern. remembering to backstitch at the beginning and the end. And when you work your way around the curve, it's best to have, I find, the exterior on top and the pocket underneath. And make sure that when you go around the curve that you don't have that exterior buckling around that curve and getting caught in the stitching. Okay, so then we're going to take it and we're just going to fold the seam down in towards the back, but we're not going to be top stitching at this time. But there's your front pocket and the exterior back attached, but we're not going to top stitch at this moment. Okay, so now we have our pocket and our back body exterior sewn together, but we haven't top stitched this curve yet. So you're going to take, now I didn't do any interfacing of the exterior more faux leather. I wanted it a little bit more pliable, but you're going to take your stabilizer that you cut of the foam, and I have put double-sided tape down all of these along this piece, and I'm going to take the double-sided tape off the backing, and then I'm going to center it along this whole panel. You need a large desk or a long desk for this bag with these long pieces. There we go. Okay, so this is quite a bit smaller than the size of this bag. One of the things to make sure is like to center it, you know, top to bottom, side to side. Make sure that your exterior has been pulled down so that it's not going to be bunched up and that you get a better top stitching. And then I'm just going to lay the foam and center it as best as I can from top to bottom and left to right, making sure I pull that exterior down as I work the foam onto the back piece. And it's centered this way. So now I'm going to top stitch around here, and that'll also help secure this foam on because I can't sew it on. It'll be right in the middle of my bag. So that's the beauty of double-sided tape. I don't have basting spray. So now I'll just do 1/8 of an inch top stitching around that curve. Okay, so there is our top stitching on our two pieces together, and you can see it on the underside, which also helps to keep the foam in place. All right, I'll be back. All right, so now we're going to be working on the zipper gusset. So we have our zipper. This is a number 5 zipper tape by the yard, and I have marked my centers on both sides. We're going to be using the back zip gusset piece as well as the front zip gusset piece. Now, these pieces have very distinct shapes to them. So the back zipper gusset. Of course, when you cut it, it's cut on the fold. This is the shape that it takes, and there's a specific side that the zipper will go on. So we have a flat side and we have a curved side, and it's the curved side that we're going to attach the zipper to. And I have marked my center on that. And then the front zipper gusset piece also has a very distinct curved edge. And the outer curved edge is the side that we're going to be putting the zipper on. So right now we're just going to be working with the back zipper gusset piece. And I've put double-sided tape on both sides, on the exterior. If I can get it. All right, so I have that on the exterior, and I'm going to take the double-sided tape backing off and take my zipper, and I'm going to line up the centers and match, following the curve with the zipper tape and matching up the edges. Your zipper tape will be longer most likely than the actual zipper gusset piece, but you're following that curve. And then you're going to run another strip of double-sided tape along the wrong side of the zipper. Making sure that you follow that curve and there aren't any puckers. And then we're going to put the lining on. So we're going to take the right side of the lining, and it's going to, you've got the wrong side of the zipper up, and you've got the right side of the fabric of the exterior showing. So you're going to have the two right sides together and match the centers and follow along the edge of the zipper with your lining piece. Okay, and I just take, because I don't switch my zipper into my zipper foot, I don't like how my zipper foot works on my machine. It doesn't grab my material initially. So, but what I do is I just take my nail and kind of run it up along the zipper teeth. And then we're going to stitch along the zipper teeth and sew this zipper on. Making sure that my presser foot is right up against those zipper teeth. And following that curve. This has a really unique curve shape at the sides. Really unique. Okay. And I'm just going to finger press the lining forward. Kind of blends in with my t-shirt. And then just flip it over and finger press the exterior forward away from the zipper. So both the lining and the exterior get pulled away from the zipper teeth. And then line up, pulling both the lining and the exterior together, line up those edges. Pulling it away from the teeth, but line up these two raw edges on each end. And then we're going to clip all the way down this raw edge, making sure that our raw edges are matching. Okay, and then we're going to baste all around the raw edges and then top stitch along the zipper at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so there is the one side, and you can see that there is that distinct curve to the pattern. Okay, so now we're going to take our front zip gusset piece and I have the double-sided tape on the outer curved edge, and this is where we're going to line the zipper up on. And line up your center, making sure that you follow the line of the curve, and this is where the double-sided tape really comes in handy to make sure that it gets lined up without any slippage. Okay, and then I'm going to run another strip of double-sided tape all around this upper edge of the zipper. So now, right now we have the wrong side of the zipper showing and the right side of the lining showing. And then just take the backing off. Okay, so now we're going to take this curved edge of the lining, and it goes right sides together with the right side of the lining along the that edge of the zipper tape, and just follow that around as well. Okay, and then we're going to stitch that together. And then push the lining forward, finger press it forward, as well as your exterior piece. And then we're going to, again, with these, line up the edges and the raw edges and make sure they're all lined up. And then clip along these raw edges, making sure that they're together. Okay, and then as I'm going to top stitch, I'm going to be pulling again the zipper away from the top and the bottom of the lining. And I'm going to start at the short edge here to baste it all together first. part, I am going to put the 2 zipper pulls on. So I'm just going to pull the teeth apart, slide the 1 zipper pull on the one side, and then push the other piece of the zipper tape on. And then I'm going to sort of push the teeth together underneath and make sure that they're straight. Make sure that the zipper pull is straight, always keeping my finger on the flat end, and then push it down. And it should go on very easily. And I make sure that I don't have any buckles or any puckers. And then I'll do the same starting at the other end with the other zipper pull. Now it is a bit on a bit of an angle, so you might have the zipper pull pop off. Okay, and there we have the 2 zipper pulls meeting. So I'm just going to now baste across these 2 ends of the zipper teeth, and then I'm going to trim the zipper down because I definitely don't want my zipper pulls popping off. They have done that before. Just go over them a couple of times. Okay, and then I'll just trim this excess of the zipper off on both edges, making sure I cut it at the angle that's following the angled edge. And I'm just going to take my lighter to the raw edges of that zipper tape just to make sure, and just melt the edges so that they don't fray. And there we have our finished zipper gusset. All right, I'll be right back. All right, so now we're going to be adding our gusset ends to the zipper gusset panel. Now, the narrower side is the front of the bag, and the wider side is the back of the bag, and the back of the bag has the straight edge. And your zipper piece and your gusset ends are mirrored, so you have, when they're right sides together, your exterior and your lining, when they're right sides together at the end of everything, will be like this on both pieces. So keep your zipper gusset with the front of the bag, front of the gusset to the right, and the left of the gusset, or the back of the gusset, to your left. And then what we're going to be doing is we're going to be, first of all, I've got double-sided tape on the lining side. So this part, this side of the lining will go right sides together with this lining, matching up this corner with the front of the gusset. And they're going to sit kind of odd, but this has a little bit of an edge to line up this edge with. Now, my zipper gusset is wider than these gusset pieces because of my zipper tape not being quite the right size. So I've just lined that up so it's going to sit like this. And then I'm going to take some more double-sided tape and put it on the top edge of the exterior piece. And I'm going to put that on as well, making sure that I line up this corner that has that little edge on it with the front corner. And then your lining and your exterior are right sides together, so that when we do sew them, it's going to look like this. All right, so that's that side. Now I'm just going to take the other piece and put it on the other end, making sure that this corner that has that edge on it lines up with the front. And I'll put some double-sided tape on the exterior top edge. And then I'll line that up as well, putting right sides together and making sure that my exterior and my lining are going to be matching the edges. So this is what you have at this point, and it looks kind of odd. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to sew across these edges, flip it, and top stitch, as well as basting those raw edges together. Okay, so now I'm just going to sew this at the seam allowance in the pattern. And I'll do the same for the other side. And then I'm just going to push my exterior piece and my lining piece forward. And I'm going to clip to make sure that the edges are all lined up. And I'll do that on both sides. Okay, so I'm just going to baste around these raw edges and top stitch across this top edge on both sides. Okay, so there we have it all top stitched, and as you can see, I have quite a bit of overhang here. What I'm just going to do is I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm just going to trim that off, but at an, follow along this edge, but I'm just going to do it at an angle so that I don't take too much of that gusset off. I want that gusset width. Okay, so there we have that. And now we are going to be installing our D-ring connectors. So we'll need the 2 D-ring connectors that we originally made. And have your back side of your zipper gusset to the left. So that's the wider side, and of course the narrower side is your front. And in the pattern, there's a measurement to mark up a certain distance from the edge to here on both of your zipper connector, D-ring connectors. And there's also a certain measurement to mark from the bottom edge up to here of where to line your zipper tab or your D-ring tabs up. So I'm just going to measure up from the bottom, that particular measurement. And I'll just mark it within the seam allowance. And that's going along the back edge of your bag, of your zipper gusset. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of, so I've got the marks here and here, and I'm just going to take a little bit of double-sided tape and just put it on just up above that mark on both sides, or both ends, because that will help keep my zipper tab or my D-ring tabs from slipping when I stitch over top of them. And I'll just take that backing off. Okay, now I didn't mark my D-ring connectors. I can pretty much eyeball the amount of space that I need, and they have to overhang the edge. So we're going to line up the bottom edge of the D-ring connector along just above that line, and it's going to overhang a certain amount. And just flip it into place. And then the same with this side, and making sure that when you put your D-ring connectors on, the D-ring is facing into the bag and it's not hanging out that way. It's going in that way. And then what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to line these two up just to make sure that I have them both situated the same distance. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm just going to baste them on. I'm just going to go over them a couple of times each. And that double-sided tape does help to hold them on as well. All right, and I'll do the same for the other side. Okay, so this is what we have so far on our zipper gusset and side gussets with our connected D-rings. All right, I will be back in a sec. All right, now we're going to start working on our inside lining. So because I'm going to be doing a slip pocket on the inside, we're not making the inside as one large piece. We're going to construct it just like we did the front pocket panel, but without the flap. So you're going to need your slip pocket, 2 pieces of your lining for your slip pocket, and 1 piece of the pocket lining. So what we're going to do is we're going to be taking the slip pocket and we're going to be putting right sides together. And we're just going to clip the top edge. And we're just going to sew it at the seam allowance. And then we're going to flip it over and top stitch along the top and baste everything together at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So there is our slip pocket. And now we're going to take the sling, the pocket lining interior, and we have 1 piece. And I've got the centers marked. So we're just going to take the pocket and line up the bottom edge. Line up your centers. So we're lining up the curved edge. And just clip it all together. Now this is where I'm also going to be adding my Made in Canada label. So my labels come flat, and then I put a piece of double-sided tape on the wrong side, fold it up, and then I put another piece of double-sided tape on this edge. And I'm just going to put it along this edge of the lining pocket. Stick it on, and then I'll baste all the way around here. Okay, so now we are going to construct our inner lining piece. So you will need your constructed slip pocket out of lining, and the back body piece, your lining piece, because we are creating a slip pocket inside. So this is going to be a different construction than having this back body piece all one piece with no slip pocket on either side. So what we're going to be doing is, we've got the centers marked on both these pieces, and actually this one, somehow I must have trimmed it off my pocket. So just quickly make my center mark. And we're going to take right sides together. So I'm going to line up the center mark on this curve and put the right side of the pocket together and line up that center mark and clip it. And because we have to have this curve on the back body piece meet and clip together with this curve, we need to make little 1/8 of an inch clips all along this edge. And that'll help ease the back body piece onto the pocket piece. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, on each edge, there's a flat edge on the back body piece. I'm going to line up that flat edge with the flat edge of the slip pocket. And clip that. And I'll do the same on this side as well. Okay. And then I'm just going to splay these little clips open a little bit, just to give them a little bit of stretch. And then I'm just going to curve. Which way works better? This way works better. So with the back piece on the top, I'm just going to curve it down like this, and that helps to ease the back body piece. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to sew all along this edge at the seam allowance in the pattern, and I'm going to sew it with the back body piece on top, so I can keep an eye on that curve. Okay, and then I'm going to fold. I'm going to push the back body piece upwards and push the seam allowance up towards the back body piece, and then I'm going to top stitch all around that folded edge. And I am still using the black thread, so there will be a bit of a contrast, well, a lot of contrast. Okay, so this is what we have so far. We have our slip pocket attached onto our back body piece, and I'll be back with the next step. All right, so now we are going to attach our inside lining that we have made our slip pocket on to the outside of the main exterior. So this is the front with our slip pocket and of course our back. And you decide whether you want, if you have made the slip pocket, decide whether you want the slip pocket to go either on the along the front of the bag or at the back of the bag. And I'm going to have my slip pocket go along the back of the bag so that when I attach this on and the bag is sitting like this, when I open the bag, the slip pocket is going to be on the back. So now we're going to clip this whole lining to the exterior, and then we're going to baste around it. So make sure that you line up your edges. And your centers. And we're just going to clip all the way around. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to baste all the way around this whole perimeter. Okay. Okay, so there we have it basted on, and this is what the front will look like when it's all, when the gusset is all attached, and the back. And then when you open up the bag and you look inside, the slip pocket will be on the back of the bag. All right, so now we're going to have this facing up, right side up, and we're going to be at the looking at the bottom at the back, and we're going to attach our strap. So the right side up of your strap, now it's hard to tell with mine because it's the more faux leather, but mark your center on your strap, and you have your bottom already marked, and line up the center mark with the bottom of your exterior. And I'm just going to have it come over the edge about 1/8 of an inch, and I'm just going to clip it, make sure it's straight. And we're going to baste that on, but I'm going to tighten up my stitch on this. And we're going to do a basting of maybe just a little over 1/8 of an inch, and then a second basting line within the edge and that basting line just to secure it. Okay, so just do that, following the curve. I'm going to flip it upside down so I can see the underside and follow where the curve is. And then I'm going to do the second set of stitching within that seam allowance and the edge, and then we'll trim it. And I'm not trimming it right at the edge. I'm just going to leave a hair longer just for a little bit more added security, because there's going to be a lot of stress on that edge. Okay, so now we have the lining sewn or basted on, and we have the strap basted on as well. And we'll be back with attaching the zipper gusset. All right, so now we are going to be attaching our main body exterior to our zipper gusset. First, before we do any of that, what we need to do is to make sure our centers are marked on the short ends and in the center on these sides as well. It's hard to see, but I do have them marked. And then what I have also done to help keep the to help feed the or fit the gusset on and help it to stay when I clip it, I have added a double-sided tape all the way around on the right side. Now, first of all, we need to keep this flap out of the way, or the strap out of the way. So I'm just going to fold it and use my long clips just to hold the strap down and in place so that it's not going to be in my way when I'm sewing. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the back edge and we're going to line up the centers. You have your zipper gusset. I'm trying to get it in the camera. We have your zipper gusset sitting this way. So the front is the shorter edge and the back is the longer edge. Move your zippers away from the center so that they're off just slightly to the side. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this exterior end and match the center with the wider edge, which is the back edge. So I'm just going to take the double-sided tape off. If I can get it off. It doesn't want to come off. Okay, and I'm just going to take this on the right side and put it to right side with this. So I'm going to take my center mark and I'm going to line it up, face right sides together with this center mark. And we're going to clip it. Don't be afraid to use a lot of clips. You will need a lot of clips just to hold this in place. Okay, and then we're going to take, I start with the right side. So take the right side and you have your center marked here. Turn the body front on its side and you're going to line up. Just have to find my center mark. Oh, there it is. Line up this center mark with this center mark, and you're going to clip it. This is why the double-sided tape, it comes in very handy to make sure that because these curves are awkward. And clip that along the edges, following the curves. Use a lot of clips. And then we're going to take this edge and match it all up with this side of the gusset. It's a little awkward to work with, but it does work. That's why, like I said, the double-sided tape really comes in handy to help hold everything on so nothing slips. Fit it around these curves. And it does work out quite nicely, the size. There's no snipping involved to ease anything in. Get some extra clips around this curve. And then what we're going to do is then we're going to take the left side and do exactly the same thing. We're going to take the center mark on this left side, and right sides together, we're going to match it up with the center mark on this edge. And clip. And then just follow that bottom curve all around. It's quite an interesting construction, and it's quite a really neat construction, this bag. It's just long. The pieces are long. So I'm not fast forwarding through all of this because this is a crucial area to follow. And to make sure you get it right. Okay, so now we have that one section done. Now you can baste this around one section if you would like, or you can clip it all together, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do exactly the same side, making sure that my strap is now tucked up inside. And I'm going to clip everything, and then I'm going to first baste around at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And then I'm going to sew at the seam allowance in the pattern. So I'm just clipping, oops, there goes my tape. I'm just clipping this edge, center line mark with this center mark. And depending on the fabric that you've used, it could be tight getting around there. That's why you might want to baste it in sections. But it's better to baste it, and then you get rid of all those clips, and then you can sew the seam allowance, and then we'll bind afterwards. I might run out of clips. Beautiful. It's matching up quite nicely. Readjust your clips if your edges slip. That's why the double-sided tape is nice, because it does help keep things in place. Still have this edge to do. I haven't undone my zipper, opened my zipper yet. If I feel that I need to, then I will, but I don't think I will. Okay, so I have it all clipped. Pretty cool, really. It's really quite a cool construction. And when it's almost, it's going to be a continuous sew. So I'm going to like start on a flat edge, sew all the way around here, and then it'll loop all the way around here, and then go all the way here, and then you'll end where you started. So I'm just going to baste it right now with 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. If you need to use a stiletto as you go around those curves, do so. And just getting your bag around those curves is where you're going to fight. And it will be a little tough, but just keep the bag moving. If you only have to do 1 inch or 2 at a time. And turn your bag as you get around those curves. Straightaways are easy compared to the curves. Okay, I'm just going to open up my zipper just to make sure that I can check from the inside. Make sure I don't see any holes along that basted edge. Okay, Now I'm going to go around it. Close the zipper back up. Oh, I don't need to. I'm just going to go around and do the seam allowance that's in the pattern. Okay, so I basted it all around, all the way around at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, and then I went and did the stitching all the way around with the seam allowance in the pattern. So I will come back in a second because I need to change my thread out to beige. I am going to be attaching the binding. And I'll be using beige binding, so I want beige thread and not black thread. And I'll see you in a second. Okay, so now we are going to attach our binding onto our bag. And I've changed my thread out. I have heavy duty beige thread, Gutermann thread from Walmart. And I'm using a beige 1-inch wide grosgrain ribbon because it's finished on both edges. And I find it easy just to fold it over along our raw edges. So first of all, before we do any binding, just make sure you go around the edges of your bag and trim off any uneven parts that are sticking out, including your D-ring connectors, because they have to be trimmed off in line with your edges. I'm just going through and making sure everything's trimmed up. Okay. Now I'm not going to clip. When I do binding with the grosgrain ribbon, I don't clip it all the way around the bag. I just start at a flat edge. So I'm going to start, which would be the back edge, kind of up in here or down here. First of all, I start by folding the raw edge of the grosgrain over about 1/2 inch. And then I put it on the edge of the bag, making sure that those edges meet. And I just clip it in 2 spots. And then as I'm sewing it, I feed it around the bag and adjust that way. So we're just going to do that now. And I sew about 1/8 of an inch away from this edge here. Okay, so I'm just coming up to the end of the ribbon, and I'm just going to cut it a little bit further than what the edge is, and I'm going to fold that raw edge under and then feed it under. Okay, so this is what we have. We have it all nicely bound, all continuously, all around. And I'll be back. We're going to then turn the bag, and then we're going to finish our strap. And then we still have our tassel to make. Alrighty, so we have bound our bag. And now we're going to turn it and see what it looks like. I'm just going to take the clips off the strap on the inside that we were holding it together with. And just take it. It's an easy bag to turn by the looks of it. Very easy. Very easy bag to turn. And just push out all of your seams. Very nice. This metallic embossed material looks amazing with this dark brown Mora faux leather. So just roll my seams just to get them loosened up a little bit. Of course, it's one continuous seam. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Isn't that pretty cool? And see the beautiful curves that come, excuse me, along the side, so that it's not straight up and down, but you have this beautiful curve following the line of the bag. Look at that. That is just absolutely gorgeous. And then on the, sorry, excuse me. And on the inside, on the back wall, we have our slip pocket. And you could put another slip pocket here if you wanted to. There's lots of opportunity to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to make our strap. So I have a 1-inch tri-glide slider, and I have my 1-inch swivel clasp. So lay the bag with the back side up, strap up. This is the top of the strap, so that's the right side. Pull the strap down to the end so that your webbing you've got the end of your webbing, and I've already taken a lighter to the end of my webbing so that it doesn't fray. And then take your tri-glide and feed the webbing up from the bottom up on the first edge of the hole, and then over the bar and back down. And just pull it up a little bit. So you're still right side up, that's the right side. And then you're going to take your swivel clasp with the swivel hook upwards, and you're going to feed your strap through the bottom of the swivel clasp. And now you're looking at the underside of your tri-glide. Still hang on to this, push your strap up from the center bar of your tri-glide. So that's the top side, the right side. Take the underside, the wrong side, and feed it of your strap, feed it through the bottom on the underside. Take the edge, go over that tri-glide and come out the other edge, so you've fed it up through the bottom. And then this is what you have at the moment. So the top edge, the top part of the strap is your right side, and that's what will slide for the adjustment. And then just take your edge of your strap, fold it under about 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, and then we're going to stitch it. And I've already changed my thread back to black. So right now I'm just going to take this, line up my edges, and I'm just going to do 2 bars of stitching just to secure that strap into place. Tighten that up a bit. Here we go. Okay. All right, so I just go back and forth a total of 4 lines. Oops. Okay, and then I'm just going to move it over and do another about 1/4 of an inch away from my stitching here, and do another 1/4 of an inch stitching, bar stitching here. Oops. Okay, and now we're just going to trim off all of our threads. And just take a lighter to the ends just to melt them and secure them. Okay, so now we have our strap done, and it can connect to the back of the bag on either of these D-rings. And there we go, there's our strap with a nice cushy, wide faux leather strap that we initially sewed. Now what we're going to be doing is on this D-ring tab, I am going to put a tassel. Now I will have to take off this swivel clasp and the chain, because it will be too long if I have it here and then the tassel hanging down there. So what I do to make my tassel is I just take my 5x5 ruler and cut a square, and then I draw, so this is what I do, and then I draw a 1/2 inch line from the one edge, and I put double-sided tape on that one edge, and then I cut with my rotary cutter 1/8 approximately inch strips, and then I take the double-sided tape backing off, and then I tightly roll this in along the wrong edge, making sure that this edge is kept straight at the top here. And I will probably have to cut close to 1 inch off the end in order for it to fit into the hole of the tassel clasp. So I'm just rolling that up. And the double-sided tape helps it to stick and to stay. I'm just going to see how that fits in this hole. Okay, and I can just trim that part off. Let's see how that goes. So I trimmed off about 1 inch. I knew I was going to have to do that because I've made these. And I've also made the tassel out of the dark brown Mora faux leather, so that it's going to add a nice contrast to the front of this bag. Just making sure that it fits. Oh, I just need to trim off one more little strip. And then it should fit. Okay. So what I do is I take my fabric glue and I just put a drop, not too much because it will squish out. And I just put a drop down into the bottom of the hole. And then I feed, because that glue will help hold this on inside the tassel clasp. And I feed that on, kind of twisting it as I stick it in there and really shove it in. And I make sure that the back seam is kind of in the area of the, just slightly past this hole. Now this is the tricky thing. I have my little electric screwdriver. I'm going to take my stylus and I'm going to kind of start a hole and shove it right down into this fringe. And then I'm going to take my screwdriver. I have to hold it for this because it's round and it won't stay flat. And then, okay. Trick is to get this in straight, but it's awkward to hold this because it's round and you can't put it on a flat surface. And my bit is wearing down, my drill bit. Okay. Time to go to the hardware store and see if I can get a new replacement for this. I have this great set for this electric rechargeable screwdriver, but I only ever use the one bit. So I'm going to have to go to the hardware store and get a couple of some so that I have it in reserve. But I've had this now for a year. But I am stripping the top of that drill bit or screwdriver bit. But it takes a bit of time to work that screw in and making sure that it's in there and flush. Okay. All right, so there we have our tassel, and there I've got the screw in there, and it's all squished now because my poor drill bit is just, I need a new one for sure. All right, now, because I know that this is going to be too long, what I need to do is take off this chain, and then I want to use this larger circle to hook onto here. So I'm just going to take my pliers, take this chain off first. I don't need to keep the chain, but I'll definitely keep the swivel hook because you can always use that. It's a 1/2 inch round swivel hook. And now I'm just going to take this larger circle off. And then I'm going to feed it onto the bottom of the tassel. And when I put the tassel on to the bag, onto this D-ring, I want to make sure, because there's no way for it to swivel around. If it had stayed on this swivel hook, it would have been able to spin around. But I want to make sure that the screw is at the back of this D-ring and not sitting on the front. Okay, now let's see if I can hold on to everything and squish this ring together. It's a pretty heavy duty, this hardware is very heavy duty that I get from Waywack. So I don't have any concern that it's going to come apart. Okay. Beautiful. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Now it is longer, but I think that just kind of adds to the character of the bag. And now you have a nice clasp, something that's decorative and makes it a little more dressy, your little sling pack. So your phone will fit in there. It will take a bit. I have the largest Samsung phone, so it does fit in there, and you can put your flap over top of it. So it's not something that you can just slide in and slide out. You do have to make sure that you lift that up to get and work your phone out. If you have a smaller phone, you're fine. But isn't that gorgeous? So we have this beautiful slip pocket at the front with, now we have the tassel detail. And on the back is our padded strap. I really like having the double stitching here instead of the center stitching that the pattern calls for, and doing the vinyl or the faux leather in the two pieces and sewing them together the way we did. And then when we open up our double zipper compartment on the back, we have another slip pocket, which of course is the same size as the front. Lots of room for your phone. And then on this side, we have the a blank wall, which there's still lots of room that you can put another slip pocket on. So let's see how this is going to look. Let's just move you up. Okay, so look at this. I have to see if you're going to wear it on the front. I don't know which is the right side, the right way, the right D-ring, but I'll just leave it like this. So if I'm going to wear it at the front, it would sit here, and that shoulder strap doesn't feel like it's going to dig into my neck like some shoulder straps do. But actually, this is a nice size. Like, I have a lot going on up front here, and I really don't want any more bulk. But honestly, this isn't too bad, and it's lightweight. It's not too bad, and you can even swing it down a little bit here, but I don't mind it here. And it's pretty dressy looking too. So if you have it like that, or if I'm going to put it on my back, I would put it this way, and I don't even have to switch the D-ring connector. And then I still have that strap up against my neck, and it's not rubbing me like this, like a webbing would. And there it is on my back, or even a bit to the side. That is really nice. I really like this. And it's a nice size too. It's not huge. All right, let's just move it. So, thanks for hanging out with me, making the Piero Sling Pack from Creations. It's part of the Bag of the Month Club, and I'll definitely have the link for this pattern below. And join the Bag of the Month Club. It's like $25 Canadian for the 3 months. I think they do it a couple of times a year. And once a month you get a free pattern, like not a free pattern, you get a surprise pattern. So you never know what you're going to get until the first of the month. And this was a nice surprise because I really like this. This is pretty, it's a nice pattern, and there's a lot of opportunity for choosing your own colors and what kind of design feature you want on the front. Also, thanks a lot again for hanging out with me. And if you haven't subscribed, on the bottom right of your screen, you'll always see with my videos and tutorials, you'll always see a subscribe button, a little red subscribe button. Click that if you haven't subscribed already. I'd love to have you hang out with me whenever I do my tutorials. And like, share, comment as well. Love hearing from people, and I respond back pretty fast. But anyways, thanks a lot for joining me in making the Piero Sling Pack from Creations, and we'll see you at the next tutorial.